So says the fucking alert on the screen. But I know the truth. I'm not live at all. Scammed again. What it do? What it do? What it do? What it do? Good evening, everybody. How's it going? There we go. Let's turn this hat around. Turn this hat around. How's it going, everybody? Hello, hello. How's the back? It's still pretty fucked up. I've been using a TENS unit, though, so that helps a little bit. Damn, Paul, what problem? Sheesh. What the fuck? Well, now everyone's gorn. Hey, buddy. Hi, from New Zealand. Well, hi. The Devil's Gift was one of the worst, boring horror movies ever created. Cool, dude. Thanks, Jar of Piss, for floating your opinion out there into the nowhere. Hi, Paul. You have no idea how much I needed something like this to distract me from the fires that might burn my house down. Oh, yeah, I heard that shit is out of control yet again in Southern California, which, I mean, I'm sorry to hear about. But yeah, that's something that's just a constant, recurring, yearly problem. You're wondering if you could make us all pottery mugs? I mean, how can you? I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna. I would love a pottery mug, man. But as a Chilean, I love when you speak Spanish. Your pronunciation is exaggerated, but actually pretty good. Well, I grew up around enough Spanish speakers, I guess. Where's Ashley? Ashley is asleep, along with everybody else. I'm building a doomsday bunker filled with drugs and bitches. That sounds like a I don't know, man. It sounds as good as anybody else's fucking plan for their life. Doomsday bunker, drugs and bitches. I mean, yeah, you may end up creating a bunker that you never get the chance to use, but you've collected a bunch of drugs and bitches, so it's not like you're... Favorite P.T. Anderson movie? That's kind of tough, man. It's kind of tough for me to pick. I'll tell you my top three are Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood, and The Master. So I really love all three of those. Are you or anyone else in the Kirk household invested in cryptocurrencies? No. Well, not that I know of, anyway. I won't speak for anybody else, but I'm not. Favorite Jim Carrey movie? Probably Man in the Moon. Maybe The Truman Show. Maybe Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls. I don't know. Show us your micro PP. No. Fuck you. Yeah, put truffles of money into Bitcoin, everybody. I mean, if you happen to be one of the lucky people that has truffles of money, time to put truffles of money into Bitcoin. Oh man, dude, truffles. Where does he get this shit? Like, sometimes I can tell what word he might have been trying to land on, but every once in a while the manatee just says something like truffles, and you're just like... And you can see, like, his brain is searching for something in that moment. Like, he paused for a second. He's like, there are truffles of atheists. And it's just like, you landed on truffles and went with it? Whew. Man. Yeah, dude, he must have been thinking of some truffle oil or... mac and cheese with truffle oil. Oh, yeah. Situation. I wonder why people invest after something has already become big. For all you know, it slides to zero soon. Yeah. I mean, just take solace in the fact that most people just don't invest, really. Or at least don't have any control over their investments directly. Ooh. How do you think the manatee would be high? Dude, I think you've probably already seen the manatee high. I think Brett smokes. I mean, there have been times, where you're pretty sure that he's fucking getting high. I mean, he used to sit in front of his, video and smoke a pipe like weed. You know what I mean? He'd be like, there's my tobacco pipe. But he's lighting it every fucking 3 seconds. Taking big hits. Do you remember One Less God and Exiled? Kind of. I remember they were around during the ASU days. And I remember One Less God... I don't know. He was either mentally unstable or he was portraying the character of somebody who was mentally unstable. But yeah, those are two blast from the past names. Truffles of insult of atheist individuals. Bring back atheist scum united. Yeah, dude. TJ was on to something, man. I need some John Wayne atheists up in this bitch. Some Toshiro Mifune atheists. Thoughts on antinatalism? I mean, it's actually one of those kind of like weird little pockets of personal philosophy that I have had at least a little bit of experience with. Spending so much time in Mendham's rooms, I've heard the antinatalist position. What do I think about it? I mean, I think you're asking all of humanity to deny one of its most basic natural impulses. So while it may be true that the greatest reduction in suffering would result in human beings collectively deciding to stop breeding, I don't think it's ever attainable. So I don't really see the point of discussing it. You still consider yourself a technocrat, or was that a joke? I don't consider myself anything, but certainly not a technocrat, so must have been a joke. Review 2 Girls, 1 Cup. Okay. Is that the kind of content you guys want to see? Reaction vid. 2 Girls, 1 Cup. Here's the thumbnail shot. Like and subscribe goes right here. Maybe I should do like... reaction. All right, guys. People, what's up? It's Paul's Ego, your boy, back again with another reaction video. Wanted to say thank you to all the new 2 million subscribers that came since the last video I made where I reacted to a weasel popping in and out of its hole. Thanks, y'all. I hope you enjoy this video. Look, y'all hooked me up with a file called 2 Girls, 1 Cup. And I got no idea what I'm about to look at, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hit play on this, and we're going to go ahead and react. All right. Oh, no, man. No, man. Oh, girl, is she going to... She's... Oh, man, no. Oh, dude, is she going to drink it? No, she's drinking it. Oh, dude, no. No, I'm totally fucking organically freaking out about how gross this is, dude. Oh, God. Oh, please. Oh, my God. I gotta hit stop, dude. Y'all, I legit gotta take a break from this one. I can't believe y'all wanted me to watch this. Anyway, like and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you share this everywhere. So fucking disappointing. I actually had an art teacher that told me my art was liberal. Can someone explain how an art piece is liberal without trying to be? I don't fucking know. I mean, it's your problem for listening to your fucking art teacher. Let me tell you something. Your art teacher doesn't know shit. I'm sorry to... That's just something that you got to take to get a degree or whatever, to pursue your dreams. Your art teacher doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about. So just, go in there, read the book he puts in front of you, and take notes on the lecture and shit and get through it. Your art teacher almost made you cry once. Yeah. They like to, I don't know, dude. There are some college professors that seem to get off on being the hard professor. You know what I mean? Like, everybody else is kind of normal, comes in, gives a lecture, expects you to keep up with the work. And then there's that one professor that's like, if you guys think you're just going to coast, let me tell you something. This is not that class. You may as well go ahead and drop before the deadline. You may as well go ahead and drop before the deadline. I'm telling you right now. In fact, get up and walk out right now. It's just like, oh, fuck me. One of these guys. Oh, great. A high school art teacher? Oh, that's even worse, man. That's even worse. That's probably, quite honestly, think about this, dude. That's probably a gym teacher that their sport got cut back, and rather than fire them, the school was like, well, you can teach an art class. We got state funding for an art class, so... And they're like, all right. Movies you love is greater than cinema for cynics. Dude, that's fucked up, man. How you gonna do me dirty like that, dog? I know, dude. I just did a reaction video to that 2 Girls, 1 Cup, man. Possible Brett Keane sock account in the chat. Oh, yeah? Which one do you think is the matinee, dude? Call the matinee out by name, and I'll keep an eyeball peeled for it. Yeah, dude, you should film your reaction to my reaction. And then I can react to people reacting to me reacting. It's the next level. Like, Karl Rove is in here with a list of old names from YouTube, and he's like, do you remember Metabob? It's like, yeah, dude, I do, but what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say about Metabob? What do you want me to say about any of these people? I barely remember them. It was like in 2007 the last time I even thought about them. Paul, do you like Aphex Twin? I like some Aphex Twin. I can't get down with it all, but my favorite Aphex Twin song is called Bucephalus Bouncing Ball. You've actually seen channels dedicated to ironically reacting to reactions. Well, then I've got to start a channel that reacts to reaction channels. We've got to go deeper. We've got to go deeper. Yeah, dude. The heartbreaking movie of the year, Matinee. React to me bouncing on my boy's dick. Damn. Elsa Gate honestly freaks me out with some of those uncanny videos. It really shouldn't freak you out. We're starting to see, like, look, when you create this arcane system of rules to govern what can make gobs of money on YouTube and what can't, and you make this, like, hidey hole, like, kids content, all kinds of crazy is going to flock to that. And on top of that, there are going to be people that are looking for what are kids more likely to click on? You know, when the video ends and the recommended videos comes up, you know, what are they most likely to click on? What do they want to see? You know what I mean? And people probably just had this shit down to the gnat's ass. It's like, you know, if you do something kind of naughty in it, then kids are going to be more interested in watching your content. And it was working. You know, these videos had millions and millions of views. People were making a fucking insanely good living. But, you know, it just, the failure here is YouTube's failure, because this was their fucking, this happened on their watch. You know, on their watch, they created a little sub-site that you can lock a device to, right? You can set up any device for, you know, YouTube. The YouTube app is kids only mode, you know what I mean? And they let it be filled with a bunch of fucking softcore porn, because their system was easily gamed, because there's nobody at the helm. YouTube knew about this shit. All right, so what is more probable? That YouTube was slow to fix the problem and probably didn't know about it for a long time, or that YouTube is a secret pedophile grooming ring trying to program the minds of young kids to accept their eventual sexual slavery? I mean, actually, maybe that is more probable. I don't know. Pregnant Spider-Man gets an enema from the snowman from Frozen. Ooh. Boop. Yeah, that is kind of weird to think, though. All those millions of views. So think of how many. I was talking about this during the smoke sesh a few days ago. Millions of views. You know that most of those probably represent young kids. So I want you guys to think about something. Just take yourself back to your childhood. In my childhood, I was into like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I'm going to try and imagine what it would have been like if I had YouTube back then. I would have memories, right, of the Ninja Turtles not only going about their business, cutting up pizzas with their swords and, you know, karate chopping fucking Shredder and shit, but I'd have memories of that one time when I watched the show and fucking Donatello was humping Splinter. You know what I mean? And then April O'Neil came in and she was pregnant. And she, you know, threw her legs back and gave birth to a baby, which was eaten or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, all those little formative childhood memories would now be tinged with this weird kind of pseudo-sexuality. And we're talking about millions of views. So millions of kids have seen this stuff and now have a memory of, like, Big Bird jerking off in a corner while Grover spanks Miss Piggy's ass with a fucking salami. You know what I mean? It's like... you know. Well, I mean, really, I said earlier that YouTube was to blame, but it's really the parents that are to blame here, because ultimately, at the end of the line, the last line of defense is mom and dad. And they sat their kid down in front of a fucking bunch of videos of Elsa getting enemas and didn't do anything to fucking intercede or stop it. Never looked over the kid's shoulder. So it really is ultimately the parents of these children that are to blame for these millions of views. And I think really one of the more shocking things pointed out by ElsaGate is how many parents are apparently just handing their tablet or their phone to a kid and putting it on YouTube Kids, you know, and going, just, hey, watch whatever. Do it for hours, too. Just keep yourself fucking entertained with this stupid cartoon bullshit. You know, parents have always done that to kids, but it's never been as available as it is now. You know, cartoons were only on once in a while. You know, the babysitter wasn't constantly available. Now it's just like there are a billion fucking kids videos. The push of a button. You know, it's the parents that ultimately trusted Google to know what was good for their children without looking into it themselves. You know, any kind of fucking parent that was involved on any level would have sniffed that shit out in a fucking second. That had gone back, taken a look at the fucking history to see what their kids are watching and gone, Elsa gets an enema, let's see this. Oh, no. But, whatever. Nobody wants to admit that one because it indicts them in it. Everybody wants to be outraged about it, but nobody wants to be like, oh, it was probably my fault for passing a tablet to my fucking child and not supervising them. Sadly, people who shouldn't have children aren't realizing they shouldn't create spawn. Yeah, no shit. Welcome to the human condition, dude. It's just fucking filled with people having children that shouldn't be having children. Over and over and over and over again, learning absolutely nothing from it. Like, why would they read a book anymore? Think about it. Like, what's to be gained from their reading of books? When you can fucking sit down in front of the tablet and swipey, swipe, swipe, swipe your way to a happier day. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Kids don't even really look at tablets as cool. See, that's the thing, is parents are like, oh yeah, man, this is cool technology. Kids don't look at it like that. It's just a resource. It's just like, oh, I want that. It's a giant entertainment box right here in my hand that I can swipey swipe away on. No swiping. Stop your swiping, sir. Yep. It's too much goddamn swiping. Too much goddamn swiping going on. Yeah, what's the point of schools? How much cancer is too much cancer? I mean, if it's totally just utterly unreadable, I guess maybe that's too much cancer, but I don't know. I've been on the up and down side of, cancerous rooms, and I haven't run into one quite like that, at least not on my streams. Maybe in other places. Twitch seems to have a lot of that on the the more popular, highly viewed streamers or whatever seem to get cancer chats that are just like fucking, well, this may as well not exist. Like, how would you even pay attention to this if you wanted to? Oh, well. I don't think that... So you ask, do you think that schools should focus more on life skills such as paying the bills, human respect, healthcare, politics, etc., rather than having classic literature or algebra? I don't think that those things should be taught to the exclusion of classic literature or algebra, but I do think that schools would do a really great service to kids if they started introducing some, here's how you adult shit. You know what I mean? Into the curriculum. I don't see that as being hurtful at all. Here's how you make a fucking budget, and here's how you pay bills, and here's how you pay taxes, and you know what I mean? Most adults don't even know how to adult, though. Isn't that kind of the point? Aren't those adults the product of a school system that never taught them how to make a simple budget? You know what I mean? Our internet will be cucked. We will need to start our own internet and start over. We don't need a monopolized internet. Call it independent living class or something. Just call it how to adult. Adult 101. You know what I mean? Throw all the sex ed shit in there too. You know what I mean? Just put that all in the same class and be like, look, here's the shit you need to know about to survive. There needs to be a class that every fucking person takes in the 7th grade called Children, the Ultimate Nightmare. And it needs to be one of these reality TV show type of filmed things, but they need to send the cameras, instead of sending them to Jersey Beach to film a bunch of Guidos with fucking lip gloss on and shit, send it into the homes of teenage parents who are fucking up to their necks in shitty diapers and bills and fucking screaming, misbehaving children, and just show them what their lives look like. Say, here's, Danica, 19. She had her child at 16 years old, who's now 2 years old, and here's how she spends her Saturday nights. And just some footage of Danica sitting on the fucking couch, looking vacant with a screaming child running around, destroying her house. Stack of bills on the fucking, you know what I mean? They really need to start driving home to kids that they need to use contraception. I'm not saying tell kids to stop having sex, because that's the stupidest fucking thing that you can tell a kid, but at least drive home to them the reason. One of the reasons why, well, I guess now knowing in retrospect that I'm not fertile, I guess that's another reason why I never had kids, but I never had unsafe sex as a teenager, and it was because my mom told me that I was a fucking nightmare, and that her life was never the same after having children, and that those children become the absolute focus of your life, and every hour of every day of every second is committed to them. And if you don't want that, you better put a fucking condom on. And I did not want that. So I never, you know what I mean? Even things like paying the bills and handling your life financially, I felt like I never learned those skills. Well, of course you didn't. Because high school isn't even about educating kids anymore. I assume you're probably younger than I am. And I didn't receive, some gold star high school education. But the shit that I got, way better, way more personal than the shit you guys are getting. You guys are just being, like, if you're in a public school or public high school, or were in a public high school in the last 8 to 10 years, you're getting an education that's based on teaching you to pass a test. You're not getting an education trying to create a well-rounded, free-thinking individual capable of critical thought and rational choice, capable of taking care of the basics that are expected of an adult human life, capable of, typing up a resume and going and looking for a fucking job and blah, 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 blah. You're being taught a bunch of rote facts that you are to recite to show that you have mastered your ability to recite those facts. And if you don't, then they give your school less money next year to teach the kids how to recite those facts. I mean, that's really how it works. So your education has been standardized out of existence. If you have kids in public school now, or you're in public school now, or you were in public school in the last 8 to 10 years, you did not receive an education. You received a standardized education in which you were taught to regurgitate facts on standardized tests. And that's all that mattered. Education has been standardized out of existence. So, money is a huge part of public education. Oh my God, dude. The amount of money that flows into these educational institutions that stops at the brick wall of administration is fucking insane. You got all this fucking taxpayer money that's coming in. You know how much of that goes to exorbitant salaries for, like, top-level district officials? Trips and junkets, and it's just retarded how much money is flushed down the toilet in schools. Absolutely flushed down the toilet. And it's all about spending all of that money, because if you don't spend all of the money, then you don't get next year's little allotment of money. Paul, I'm scared Tony the Tongue is going to take my thumbs. What should I do? I don't know. You're the swamp ape, man. You tell me. Why do parents think that public school is enough for a kid to learn? It's obvious you need to teach your kids the important shit, because parents are lazy. And we're probably raised the exact same way. Instead of looking at public education as a supplement to their parenting, they look at it as a replacement for their parenting. Parents go, well, at least I'm not responsible for making sure that my kid has a well-rounded education. And it's like, what? What? And a lot of these parents know that this is the type of shit that's going on at these institutions too. It's not like they're ignorant of what their kids are or aren't learning. They just don't care. Not my problem. Public education has given parents this idea that they are turning their children over to the state for an education. They're turning their people over to this local educational institution so that they can go there, and so that I don't have to read to my child, and I don't have to talk to my child about things that are going on, and I don't have to teach my child how to be an adult. They're in school for that shit. Hell, I just got to make the money and feed the child. And a part of the problem with that is probably wages, but Can anybody deny that the source of that problem is the decision of those people to have a child in the fucking first place? So there's just a whole lot of fucking, I don't know. There's just a whole lot of fucking dodging of responsibility at every level. How do you feel about the idea that children's entertainment is expected to be stupid? I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect in a world that doesn't value a well-rounded education? You expect you're going to get a bunch of really, great children's programming? I hate to be an old fuddy-duddy and shit, but Mr. Rogers was a motherfucking saint. Because you know what? Mr. Rogers, in addition to putting on a silly little puppet show, Mr. Rogers talked about things that kids dealt with every day. How to deal with a bully at school. How to deal with not doing as well on a test as you wanted to. How to deal when parents get mad and fight and you're scared. How to deal with feelings of anger or resentment or sadness or jealousy. How to share. All of these very important fucking things. The dude was basically TV Jesus. And there is nothing like him on the television anymore. Nothing. Turn on a kids program and tell me I'm wrong. It's all the snipperdoodles. Tweedledee, tweedledee, we're the snipperdoodles. I am Portho. I am Jacko. I am Neeplo. Tiki-dee-doo, tiki-dee-doo. And it's like, you wonder why we're graduating retards? Turn your brain off, it's the snipperdoodles. Bright colors, bright colors. Flashing lights, silly little dance. And the real question is like, when are people going to wake up to the fact that that's all by design, right? I'm not some kind of genius. I'm a dork that was barely qualified to be doing the job I was doing in the school district. And that had nothing to do with actually educating children. It had everything to do with supporting the technology that was used. And I've got this shit figured out. The people that designed this shit know that kids are not getting a good education. Why would they have a vested interest in a dumb populace? Think about it. The people at the fucking top. Why would the people at the fucking top have a vested interest in putting out programming that they know, not that they suspect, but that they know is not educational for children, branding it as educational programming? Why would they put the snipperdoodles out? They think that's helping kids' brains develop? No. No, they're not dumb. They're way smarter than me. Because they're millionaires. Leaders of industry. Politicians. They know this. They have a vested interest in it. Fucking George Carlin was talking about this. The educational system is about churning out obedient workers. Little bodies that are willing to do whatever somebody with some authority tells them to do. That's what the snipperdoodles makes out of children. Obedient little drones that are easily entertained, easily distracted, and easily bilked as soon as they join the tax base. But what are we doing to fight that? We're all so fucking concerned about sniffing fucking Donald Trump's ass looking for any hint of Russian vodka up in there. Nobody wants to address the fact that our public education system is a failure. A giant flaming, disgusting, embarrassing, shameful fucking failure in comparison to the rest of the fucking Western world. You think it's just economics? Why make entertainment of substance when we buy garbage? Because they have because they also benefit from not providing the substance. You see, if you think they don't know that and it's just supply and demand, well, the people are demanding bullshit and they keep, buying this low energy shit, so why would we? Yeah, that plays a role. But it's also like, yeah, the more of this shit we feed them, the more we can get away with. The less they'll expect. Whatever, though. Whatever. It's called the American Dream because you gotta be asleep to believe it. Man, you'd be way happier if you didn't care. Wouldn't we all? Question, Paul, do you think teacher unions are really necessary? Yes. Well, I mean, maybe not in a perfect world, but in the current climate, absolutely. I think everybody should unionize. Anybody that can possibly, unionize should be under the protection of a union, because as shady as unions can be, I was raised in a union household, and as shady as unions can be, they don't hold a candle to corporations. You want to take a look at what an ununionized labor force looks like? Go take a look at, like, what's that book? Oh my God. There's this book that, it just talks about the fucking conditions in factories at the turn of the century and shit. And child labor and just the unsanitary conditions and the dangerously long the jungle. Thank you. Yeah, the jungle. Upton Sinclair. Yep. I mean, that's what an ununionized labor force looks like. So, of course, I support the rights of anybody that does a job to unionize and assert their right to collective bargaining. That being said, there are things about unions that I think, well, particularly teachers' unions, and maybe a few, like another public union that I think is wildly out of control is the correctional officers union, which I think is at least partnered with, if not just rolled into, the police officers union. It's a law enforcement unions, because both of these unions have progressed to a point where it is hard at times to get rid of somebody who is bad at the job. And that doesn't protect anybody. That doesn't protect any member of the union. It just delegitimizes the union force as a whole when you see unions protecting teachers that don't give a shit, correctional officers who are violent or prone to violence, prone to incidents with prisoners. When you're protecting people like that and keeping them on your workforce, you're doing a disservice to everybody else that's there to do their job. But absolutely, I mean, I would rather have that going on than to have everybody be at the mercy of a corporation whose only fucking purpose is to maximize profits. You want to talk about, like, being thankful that you're for a job? Pretty much everybody that has a job at this era in human history should be absolutely thankful that they don't have a job 100 years ago. There's too many shit teachers. I agree. Too many shit teachers. A lot of those teachers are old, tenured teachers that no longer care about it anymore, but are just kind of going through the motions. And I'm sorry, there are some jobs that are go through the motion jobs. and teaching children is not one of them. So any teacher that has given up on trying to, engage these children on a personal level, get rid of them and make room for somebody who's young and passionate about the work. Describe a good teacher. That's a hard thing to do, because the answer to that question, or the answer to that, kind of varies from child to child. Maybe that's the description of a good teacher. A good teacher is a chameleon. A good teacher has the ability to look at a child and to sit that child down and to talk to that child and to figure out what the circumstances that child is living in are and what that is going to affect in their education. A teacher needs to be able to sit a child down and find out what their aptitudes are, and needs to have the mental acumen to nurture those aptitudes. So a teacher needs to be everything to everyone, and everyone is the children in her class. Or his, sorry to feminize teaching, but... A teacher may not be the right teacher for the right person. That's absolutely correct. And there needs to be a mechanism within schools to get the right students with the right teachers, because not every teacher has every aptitude a student might need. But generally, you probably have one of those teachers in the district, and there's absolutely no reason that you shouldn't get that child's ass in that teacher's classroom. No district lines, no fucking living arrangement. That shouldn't even be an issue. And it is. So... You think teachers should be paid more? Yes. I do think that teachers should be paid more, but I think that more should be expected of teachers when it comes to their education and their willingness to be the best that they can be every day in their classroom, and to continue pushing the envelope and to continue dedicating. Now, there are tons of teachers out there who do that for a very, very paltry wage. But I do think that teachers are, by and large, underpaid. It's the hardest thing in the world to be a good teacher in a bad education system. But they exist, and they manage to do it. I've seen that too. So it's a matter of capability. And every teacher, member of the teachers union or not, should want that. They should want the best of the best in front of those kids. Paul, how long did you teach? I never taught a class. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a kid that grew up in the fucking public education system and then went on to work in it for a while. The thing with paying teachers more increased the chance of people getting into it for the wrong reasons. Well, that's a matter of having a sufficient gateway to keep those bad intentions teachers out, and means of recourse to remove them if they do get in. See, bad teacher, if somebody gets into it just because they want that fat government paycheck, they are not going to cut the mustard. There is no way you're going to put that person in front of a class. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe something like, Mr. Holland's opus will happen, where, at the beginning he doesn't really want to be teaching. He's just doing it because he needs the paycheck, but he learns to love it. Maybe some of those people will blossom in the position. The ones that don't cut it, make room for somebody with some passion. That's the problem right now, is that the teaching pool is by and large stagnant. There are a lot of really passionate young teachers that are relegated to doing substitute teaching and sometimes unpaid or very low paid TA work, where they just get to come in and kind of assist a teacher. Some of them never find a job at all. They have to move all over the place looking for a place that'll even hire them to teach a class. So there are definitely no dearth of people out there that are looking to get into the profession. And certainly no lack of need for teachers, right? But the good ones can't get in because the pond is stagnant. It used to break my heart. There was, and I don't want to get into too much detail and shit because I'm not trying to slander anybody, but there was a teacher whose classroom I frequented in my job, helping her with technology and such, who was just completely out of control of the classroom. Just had absolutely no control in the classroom. It was dirty in there. The kids were just, every time I was in there, they were all doing their own thing, and it just looked like a romper room, and she didn't seem to have the ability or the drive or either really to change anything about it. And every once in a while she'd be gone, and I'd go in there to work on something while there was a sub there, and the kids would be quiet and learning and attentive. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, this is so fucking backwards, man. This class, like, under their everyday teacher is a fucking zoo, and they've got a sub in because the teacher's got tonsillitis, and the sub is actually teaching these kids for the first time all year. And the teacher will be back in a couple of days, and it all goes away. You know what I mean? That's absolutely, utterly backwards. And the fact that that is frequently allowed to exist in the public education system, at least in my experience. I won't speak for every school, but I gotta believe if it's happening where I worked, it's probably happening everywhere. But that goes both ways too. I've seen subs that are just like, they're phoning it in. They're just like, oh, the kids are fucking throwing shit and talking, and they're just like, all right, turn to chapter 1, Mr. Mackey, will you read? All right, if you're not gonna do it, I'll just read it myself. So that goes both ways, I guess. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that I got to see in my position how broken things were in a way that I don't think most people ever get to see, because I had a candid window on teachers. I was the IT dork. So it's expected for me to just duck into the classroom at any point during them teaching and for them to completely ignore me while I work on their technology and keep teaching. And as a result, as I sat and worked on technology, I got to sit and listen to teachers teach for years and years and years and years and years. And it was so almost immediately apparent to me what the problem was, or at least what the big problems were. And nobody cared. Nobody was addressing them. None of the people in the upper command structure of the district were doing anything to try and fix these problems. They were embroiled in their own political controversies and re-election campaigns and jockeying for higher appointment positions within the district. To give an example, in the 8 years that I worked for my school district, I believe in those 8 years we went through 4 superintendents. Now, this is a superintendent of schools, the person who is responsible for the vision that drives the entire school system, the guy that sets the tone for school. 4 in 8 years. Can you imagine the amount of chaos 4 separate visions for a school district causes? So it's just such a systemic problem. And the reason that happens is because other districts headhunt superintendents who are able to make a positive gain in test scores. So if you do get a principal who comes and test score, he implements some new policies and test scores go up as a result, all that means is that a district with more money, with the ability to pay their superintendent more money, is going to send your superintendent a letter saying, hey, come work for Buena Vista Unified. What are you making over there? 125, 225 a year? We'll pay you $500K a year to start. What do you think that good superintendent's going to do? Well, yes, please. And then the school is left with their pants around their ankles. because the head of their whole entire organization has once again been lopped off, and a replacement has come in that has his own ideas or her own ideas about how things should be done, and everything gets changed. It's unworkable. Please don't smile. $500K a year. Oh yes, I'll be at the Bunny Ranch, of course. Yep, the prison system is another laughable mess, and that's largely due to the fact that it's been privatized, and we've allowed that private prison institution to lobby the government for changes in laws that would require more incarcerations, that would end in more incarcerations. How fucked up is that? There are people out there lobbying the government going, look, we need... I mean, they maybe don't couch it this way. They're going, you know, we're noticing an uptick in marijuana-related arrests, and we really, really need stiffer sentences for marijuana possession. I mean, it's getting out of control, and it's like we can't enforce the law, you know. So we really need you, Senator Joe Blow, to go in there and back this piece of legislation that's going to, you know, crack down harder on minor drug users. But really what they're saying is we need more people in prison. See, we don't make a whole lot of money unless we can keep these prisons at capacity, because then there's a public outcry to create more prisons, and they come to us to do that. So we want to create this giant ticking time bomb of inmates living on top of one another in bunk beds in the gymnasium, what was formerly the place that we sent them to exercise. Yeah, they don't get to do that anymore because it's full of bunk beds. We want to create this kind of situation where prisons are always chronically overpopulated so that people will support measures to build new prisons so that we can fill those up too. Wow. Oh yeah, and we love that too. Think about that. In a private prison system where it is beneficial to them to be over capacity so that they get more money, is it beneficial to them to turn out a citizen that will go back out and then not reoffend, or is it beneficial for them to turn out an inmate that they know is gonna fucking be recidivistic and come right back? Your ass is going to be out on the street for 1 or 2 months, tops, and then you're going to be back in our bed and on our payroll again. Cha-ching! So they're not even incentivized to try and stop the problem. They're not even incentivized at all to rehabilitate the criminals that have been taken off the streets, so that when they're eventually put back on the streets, they don't do the same thing again. In fact, more often than not, they go into prison and they're more likely to commit crimes when they come out because they've been fucking radicalized by prison life. This is par for the course. This is how prison companies, private prison corporations make money. They make money by lobbying the government to make sure that they are constantly in a fresh crop of prisoners. And while they have those prisoners, they do absolutely nothing to rehabilitate those prisoners so that they can get them back. Think about it like a hotel. It's like a hotel that is constantly trying to overbook its guests. Yep. And I'm telling you, man, I saw some shit that really fucking upset me while I was working, when it came, you know, kind of crossing over back into the educational talk from the prison talk, but there's a little bridge there. The way that kids are treated, and this might be due to the fact that there's just too many of the kids. We've reduced class sizes to the point where there's not enough staff to watch the kids at lunch. But I'm telling you, man, at lunch and on the playground and shit, the way these kids are being treated, it's like they're in an institution. It's like you're preparing them for institutional life. I shit you not. Okay, I think I've told this before, but at fucking recess, okay, at the end, when the bell would ring and kids, oh, you know, when that happened when I was in school, kids would, you know, oh man, it's the bell, and they'd start shuffling back. When the bell rings here, or at least at the school, yeah, the freeze bell, one of the teachers, whoever the yard duty teacher, would have a bullhorn and would yell, freeze! And the fucking, I shit you not, the yard would get silent. And all the kids would stop wherever they were. And as soon as it was totally quiet, the teacher would say, line up! And all the kids would silently shuffle to the lines for their classes so their teachers could come pick them up and lead them to class. They were treated really similarly at lunchtime, oftentimes. They would be in the lunchroom or in the cafeteria having lunch and, you know, talking a little bit. And if they talked too much, the teacher would say, everyone quiet! And the whole thing would get quiet, and they would say, all right, now you've lost your talking privileges. Eat the rest of your lunch quietly. No talking. Eyes forward and eat your lunch. This is not a special needs school. These are elementary schools, public elementary schools. What year was this? This would have been between the years of 2007 and 2015. 2016. The problem is conservative Christians. Well, I mean, they contribute, but I don't think that they wear the badge of shame in this one. Yep. And, you know, I'm not trying to make it out like it was a total prison camp in these fucking schools or anything, but that type of shit, the schoolyard freeze bullshit chilled my fucking blood. I found myself doing it. Like, it would often happen in the morning. I'd be coming to a school, and I'd cut across, you know, part of the yard to get into the school proper, and it would just be at the end of morning recess or something, and the teacher would freeze, and I would stop. I'd go. Just kind of I mean, it's so weird. It's so weird that children are being treated that way. But it's par for the course. Par for the course. It's the reason you didn't continue to pursue a teaching career. Well, I don't blame you. And there are a lot of people like you. I used to see new teachers come in, and I'd be able to tell how long they were going to last just by looking at them. I'd go in and, you know, I'd help them set up their computer, and they'd be teaching, and I'd, you know, see a few minutes of their teaching, and I'd be like, 6 months tops. And I'd be right most of the time. A lot of new teachers cycle in and find out what it's really like, and they just walk away from it. And it is fucked up. It is really, really fucked up to be a new teacher. It's fucked up to be a teacher at any level in the school district. You are expected to... There's no other job that I can think of where you are expected to work outside of the confines of your duty day. That's what teachers call their 8-hour block of work a day. It's their duty day, not duty like poop, D-U-T-Y, okay? And if you want to be a good teacher, you got to be at school about an hour and a half before you're supposed to be at school. And you got to be at school about an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 2.5, 3 hours after you're supposed to go home. That's what good teachers do. Good teachers were always at the school before I was there. And I'm the tech guy who had to get there before everybody else got there so I could work on shit. The good teachers at my schools were always there before me. And they were always the people that I said goodbye to when I packed my shit up later in the evening and went home. They'd be there before me. And I worked long-ass fucking hours, and the sun would be, on its way down, 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30. I'd be going home, and I'd wave to those same teachers. That's what's expected of a teacher to really make a difference in their classroom, and they're still hamstrung by the curriculum. But that's what the good teachers were doing. And when people come in with all this vim and vigor and fervor for teaching, and they find out that they're expected to work a 13 to 14 to 15-hour day every day of the week and on weekends. I used to come in on weekends often, too, to do projects that I couldn't do when people were on all the machines during the week. Guess who was at the school on weekends? You want to take a guess? The good principal and the good teachers. Every weekend in their classroom preparing things for their class. There's no days off. There's no going home for a teacher. Did I ever want to be a teacher? Yeah, I did. That's why I say that that's why I advocated earlier for teachers being paid more. Because the good teachers are so underpaid, it's laughable. The problem with education is that kids don't like school. They are only there because they have to be. Why do you think they don't like it? They're treated like inmates in an asylum. A lot of them are plopped down for 8 hours or 6.5 hours a day in front of a teacher that doesn't give shit about them. Bores them to tears with shitty corporate fucking curriculum that's been crammed down every teacher's throats. Does nothing to try and engage them. Just goes through the rote fucking task of, all right, fucking open your book to this and open your book to that. Freeze, motherfucker! Why do you think they don't want to go to school? Why do you think kids hate school? I hated going there. The feeling of failure was palpable, man. It was so hard to work at a place like that. And my fucking department wasn't even really doing bad. I mean, we were doing well. We weren't under fire. You know, it wasn't like people were screaming at us most of the time. I mean, we were the tech department. So when shit went bad, we were the butt end of that. But we were doing well by all the metrics. But the places that I was servicing had the stink of failure about them. So fucking thick that it made me sick to work there. It's like going in to work at a fucking factory that harvests, childhood boredom. It was horrible. People hated being there. Everybody hated being there, including the kids. And that's not how school should be. I'm sorry. That's not how I looked at school. And I'll be honest with you, like, I didn't get the greatest of educations either. I just got a better one than kids are getting now. But I didn't absolutely despise fucking school. There were things about school I looked forward to. Yeah. Exactly, dude. And you have no idea how hard we blame the kids, too. You have no idea. Like, these kids have their fucking scores on these quarterly standardized tests held over them like the sword of Damocles. They're posted on the fucking wall for everybody to see. You imagine that? Being bored to death and hating school and then having to fucking hear about how you're failing it too? Because nobody's taking the fucking time to engage you on any fucking human level. And being blamed for that. Having the finger pointed at you, the child. Grades are the only important... That's absolutely true. And it's not even really grades anymore. It's test scores. Grades don't even matter anymore. What'd you get on the standardized test? That's what matters. What is your score? We need a massive change in the American school system. We don't need a massive change. We need an absolute ground-up redesign of how public education is delivered in this country, and we need it desperately. You know that $3 trillion that's going to be added to the budget because of the new tax plan that's about to go into effect? That money could absolutely change the face of the way that we educate children in this country, probably 2 or 3 times over. And instead, it's just been put in the back pockets of rich people. So nobody cares about education. Even the parents don't care anymore because, once again, we talked about their complicity earlier. This American attitude that, oh, yeah, well, my kids are at school. My obligations are done for 6 to 8 hours every day. Kids are at school. Not my responsibility. Public school is a joke right now. It's sad, but it's true. I mean, the best hope that you have right now, if you're the type of parent that is going to turn your kid over for 8 hours a day to public school, your best hope right now is that at some point in that child's developmental history, he comes across a teacher who cares enough about him to make an impression on him that sets him along the right path. If you're lucky, that's what you get. But you're rolling that roulette wheel, and your kid might fall into a shitty teacher every fucking step of the way. And if you don't take the chance... see, parents have wide latitude and shit like this. But they don't exercise it. Because they don't care. Because they had kids that they had no fucking intention of actually trying to raise properly and support. Alfie Kohn, yeah, I've heard some of his talks. Sounds like you have a very low opinion on parents nowadays. Well, look around. They're to blame for a lot of the problems. And you know what? They have a giant responsibility, a fucking absolutely giant responsibility, you know, to bring it back to the antinatalist viewpoint. I mean, there is no bigger thing than a human being can do in its limited lifespan than to make the choice to bring another fucking consciousness out of the void and bring it into this. And so many people do that ignorantly and with absolutely no thought. And once they've done it, they do nothing to try and change themselves and become better parents to their children. And And it's everywhere. And it's unacceptable. So that's another thing, you know, once again, looking at it from a teacher's perspective, that's stacked against you. Because a lot of these teachers might have been good teachers 10 years ago, but they were worn down. And what they were worn down by was probably getting ever increasingly larger class sizes filled with kids who were getting nothing at home. So you want to talk about moving a fucking mountain? Put a teacher in front of a class with behavior problems and have them get a fucking point across to 30-40% of the kids in that class. That's moving a mountain. Okay? This lag is kind of weird. I don't know what lag you're talking about, my friend. When I was in school here in Oregon, we had classes with 35 kids and one teacher. How the fuck is a teacher supposed to teach 35? Yeah. The class sizes in my school topped out at 40-1. There were some classes that had 41 or 42 children in them. I want you to think about that. 42 children, one teacher. I think well-paid teachers with the right intentions would go a long way, but there's the obvious setbacks of the teachers that just go in it for the pay. That's why there needs to be a fucking system to remove the bad teachers. And it needs to be backed by the teachers' unions, okay? Unions are not about protecting people that lay down on the fucking assembly line and don't do their work, okay? That was never the intention of the unions. The intention of unions was to provide a level of protection and the power of collective bargaining to working people. Will class sizes just get bigger? I'd love to say no, but the trend throughout the 8 years or so that I worked for the school district was always up. Always, 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 always up. There was a school that I worked for it was kind of out in the country, and that made its population heavily migrant. These are what they call ESL children, English second language kids. These are the kids that need the education system the absolute most, because they have poor parents who have absolutely no education themselves, don't even really have a concept of the idea of public education. And this school, because of its high proportion of migrant students, was given funds called QUIA funds. And QUIA was an acronym for something that I don't remember. Quality something. It was all about reducing class sizes. It was about funding the school an extra little chunk of funding so that they could bring class sizes down and get less kids in each class so that the teacher had more time to give individual attention to those children. And that school, as a result, had some of the better classrooms. But they also had the hardest job. Remember, their student population is largely migrant students. So when they weren't able to get an arbitrary amount of points in increase, okay, on their students' test scores, they didn't do what was expected of them, they yanked that funding. The response of the government and the people in charge was to look at that school and go, okay, well, you don't get your extra funding this year because your kids didn't do well enough on the test. So now you're back to 41 migrant students per teacher. Congratulations. So and that was always a problem I had with teachers' unions. No matter how shit a teacher's was, if they had enough years put in, nothing would throw them, even though they made class hell. I mean, for a teacher to get fired, really, in school, they have to be so obstinate that they do absolutely nothing that they're asked. Or, and I've seen that happen, or they have to be caught, like, drinking on the job. You know, doing something that just is absolutely unconscionable that the district would not want to get around, that, you know what I mean? Other than that, if you're just a teacher that's phoning it in, you're just fucking around, half-assing everything, just going through the motions, running a filthy classroom filled with kids who couldn't care less, nothing they can do. They can talk to you, they can bring, you in, they can send you off to trainings and shit, which a lot of these teachers love because it's like a little mini vacation. Like, oh, this teacher needs extra training. Let's send her away on a 2-week vacation to Burbank. It's like, no. That teacher is not going to go to some stupid fucking class and come back with the will to actually teach those children. That teacher needs to have their spot vacated for somebody who cares. Whatever, dude. A smaller class size is probably one of the most important things for a good education. I just graduated this year, and I can definitely say classes with 15 to 20 kids are definitely more. Of course they were. There's only so much teacher to go around, you know what I mean? And so much of teaching is that personal touch, that feeling that you are amongst a class, but that you're an individual in that class. That's so important. You have to know that your teacher knows you. You have to feel like your teacher knows who you are and cares about your development, and that's too much to ask when you're cramming 41 kids into a classroom. Here's some more corporate government bullshit. Microsoft went after people that pirated CNET, a company owned by Microsoft, promoted BitTorrent. Yeah. It's all just a bunch of fucking bullshit. It's just, less and less makes sense in the world as I get older. I always had this picture of myself that, as I got older, I was going to settle and become, a little more accepting. I was going to kind of come around and find my little niche and find my little place and find my little happy rhythm in this culture. And I find that it's actually the opposite that's happening to me. The older I get, the more I see the bullshit, the more I see, how all of it is just on this shaky ass foundation filled to the brim with dishonesty and money grubbing, So, so it just gets worse. I mean, yeah. You see anybody, do you hear anybody talking about education? When is the last time Trump or any of the new major news organizations ran a giant fucking story about education and shit? Nobody cares. Even when they do, people don't care. So nobody's even talking about it, and it's just a fundamental problem. Education's not even an issue anymore. Just not even something people care about anymore. I love the poorly educated, and they love me. My accounting professor this semester made it seem like he gave a shit about me and my future and really helped me do well. It's probably some of the best teaching. Yeah, see? And look, it takes a special kind of person to do the job, and that's all I have to say about it. I'm going to go get a drink, and hopefully, we can change the subject. I'll be back in 1 minute. Ooh. Oh, let's change the fucking subject, folks. Is everyone nice and depressed? Is everyone nice and depressed? We just talked about how education's a mess. Is everyone nice and depressed? It is dumping huge amounts of swampy Louisiana ass outside. It's raining pretty good. Why dislike animated movies? Because I'm just starting to feel like the same shit is being repackaged and shoved at me a bunch of times. There's always like a little, cute sidekick, and there's always this, and I don't know. I'm just tired of the look of them, too. I'm starting to feel like because they're not real human looking. They have a very distinct look, these Pixar characters, and I'm starting to feel like I'm just looking at the same people in different costumes all the time. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. If you exercise, your back would feel better. Yeah, you're probably right. Thanks for that unsolicited advice. It's Unsolicited Advice Corner with Paul's Ego. Who's a minor character in a movie who you think outshines the whole cast? There are some of those. My mind immediately went to the character, and funnily enough, is named Scotty from P.T. Anderson's Boogie Nights. Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman played him. And while there was a lot of really great performances in that film, his was just like, it really stuck out. And he is my favorite thing about that movie. Oh. Hey, Paul, are you playing WoW again? No. Not yet, but I've been considering it. Maybe to try out the new classic servers or whatever the fuck. First time I've ever seen a Paul ear. Oh, yeah. There's both of them. You and Ashley playing any games together? We play Heroes of the Storm and some Overwatch together from time to time. The scene just became eerie. On a lighter note, what are your thoughts on suicide? Oh yeah, man. Let's spruce up the conversation with a nice, long discussion of suicide. Nothing in this podcast is happy. It's not a podcast, number one. Number two, it is not my job to be happy. All right? And sometimes we're very happy, but when we're not, I'm not going to force this environment of fake positivity on people. I've attempted suicide 3 times, so basically I suck at dying. Well, good for you, I guess. I don't know how to really... Do you congratulate a person that's failed at suicide 3 times for having failed? For being around still? For being here? I don't know. Is that kosher? Is that okay? Stand in front of a train and say that. Okay. Oh, wait, you were talking to the other guy. This world sucks, smiley face. If you could pick any animal to be your loyal sidekick, which would it be? Any animal to have as a loyal sidekick. I think it'd be pretty awesome to have, like, you know, because you got to have an animal that's capable of traveling on its own. You know, I'd want something like a big old fucking grizzly bear, dude. Wouldn't it be amazing to just have a grizzly bear that was just like totally loyal to you, totally fucking protective of you, that you could ride around on, dude? A war bear. That'd be amazing. A chimp or a gorilla? I don't know, man. I would feel bad having a chimp or a gorilla companion, you know? Like, I'd feel, because they have that, like, they're human enough in nature that I would feel really bad that, you know, I was keeping them from doing what they wanted to do naturally. You know, you feel like you're enslaving a gorilla. You know, a bear, you know that they don't have any real concept of, like, I am this bear person, and I do this, and I want to be doing that. You know, bears are just instinct creatures, so. It was a hypothetical, Paul. I don't think it counts. Well, I mean, we're discussing the hypothetical, though. So it does count in terms of trying to unpack the fucking hypothetical, right? Do shrooms again. It will cure depression. It does not, but thank you for the input. The Reverend Jim Jones started out by raising money selling pet monkeys. That's actually true. I don't know if he started out that way, but he did at one point sell exotic pets, including, I think, almost exclusively monkeys. If you include mythological creatures, you can just make your own chimera. I guess that's true. Yeah, you could just kind of mix together a creature in any way that you wanted it. Monkeys are gross. My mom agrees. My mom is freaked out by a monkey. Like, she doesn't like monkeys. And she tells this story about this little girl whose name, my mom insists her name was Gobby. And this little girl had some kind of horrible skin condition. And she was a neighbor of my mom's when she was a little girl. And this Gobby girl got a pet monkey. And my mom said it was mean and she was afraid of it. And ever since then, yeah, Gobby. I don't know. You know, maybe it was short for Gabriella or something. I don't fucking know. But anyway, that chick had a pet monkey, and now my mom associates monkeys with all this fear. And I really think my mom was probably just afraid of Gobby. You know what I mean? And the monkey was just part of Gobby's weirdness. And Gobby is also Hispanic. Yeah, she might have been a little Hispanic girl too. I don't know. If you could choose one weapon, real or fictional, for the zombie apocalypse, what would you choose? Probably a portal gun, dude. I'd just like to have a portal gun in any situation. I like a girl with an STD. What do? Well, what kind of STD? You got to fill me in more on that, because that answer is different based on, You know, if she's got something like chlamydia or something, she can go get on a pill and clear that shit up. But if she's got, like, a real bad case of the herpalurps. Oh, she's got the herpalurps? My dude. I mean, herpes people, like people that have genital herpes can take drugs that control their outbreaks pretty well and shit. But, I mean, let me ask you a question. How would you rate, because obviously you haven't been up in it, but how would you imagine the pussy would be? Do you think it's going to be like class A, like the dankest puss on the planet? Or do you think there's a good chance that she's kind of a dead fish or somewhere in the middle? You know what I mean? Because that matters too. You got to have some kind of an assessment. Because, man, that's a big thing. You don't want the herpes, man. She's a freak. So, I mean, really, you've got to make that decision then. I mean, bad pussy gets STDs too. I mean, part of being bad pussy is having an STD. So, you know, that's one of the criteria. So don't act like bad pussy isn't getting fucked just as well as good pussy is. You know, you got to make a discerning choice here. Scabby puss. Oh, God. STD people need loving, too. I met a girl through the DP Discord. She's cute, so by extension, thanks for hooking me up. That's cool, man. DP love. You gotta do shit in school that makes you stand out somehow. Club, sport, some notable feat, performance, or talent. You don't have to stand out at school. I've always wanted to tell you, when you finally do land in the volcano dick first, you won't just sink Terminator style. In fact, you will bounce off the surface of the lava for a minute before death. No, dude, because I'm gonna be falling from a fucking great height. I'm gonna hit the lava at such an amazing speed that it's gonna be like hitting a concrete wall. I'm gonna die on impact. But my load, I'm gonna impregnate the earth as I die. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna blow a load right into Mother Nature when I go. Like, what do you think? I'm gonna float slowly down into the lava? Fuck that. No, I'm gonna hit the lava at like 100 miles, you know, whatever the free fall speed is. No, I don't have a parachute. I'm going dick first, man. Dick first. Plump. But the sperm vaporized. Get your fucking logic out of here, man. You are not wanted here. So what kind of child will be born? Dude, the round child. The round planet child. Saltus, the new overlord of the earth. He's the size of the moon, but sentient. He hangs in the sky just as big as the moon and talks his fucking proclamations down. Is college a scam? I've noticed some of my classes are ridiculous easy. I mean, it depends. For a lot of people, college is a scam. Because a lot of people go into college thinking like, you know what I'm going to do is go into college and figure out what it is I want to do. I mean, the people who are served by college are people who know when they go into college what it is that they want to do and pursue that. But yeah, the beginning, you know, the early general ed classes in college, those are all going to be dumb. They're basically remedial. Like, the general ed classes for your first semester of college at most, especially like public universities and shit, it's going to be like remedial to make up for the shit that you didn't learn in high school. It's going to be just durr. But yeah, college, you got to jump through the hoops. You got to go through the first few semesters of general ed before you really get to start taking the more specialized classes. And those will be classes that will probably get smaller in size the more specialized you get, and will be more interesting because they'll be directly applying to what it is you want to do. A lot of people never make it over that hump, though. I have to gen ed again because the ones I took in community college are considered lower division. That's great. That's wonderful. Isn't it great to have wasted all that time taking those general ed credits? Paul doesn't have to wake up at 4 a.m. because he doesn't have a real job. Want to buy sour Skittle emoji. Yeah. I mean, that is true. I don't have like a typical 9 to 5 job. I can kind of keep late hours with my job. I think online courses are greater than college. Well, I mean, that may be true for some stuff. I'd certainly rather probably take online general ed classes than have to show up at 7 a.m. for lectures and shit. But on the flip side of that, it's another one of those things where we're kind of encouraging people to not have social interactions except for over the internet. Part of going to college is meeting people. Not just like for romance, but for friendships and professional collaborations and shit. And who are you meeting in a fucking online course? Nobody. So see those stains right there? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that those stains are pee, but I'm going to tell you, those are not pee. It's squirt. Gotta go, Paul. Have some more money. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your yen. That is also true. Online classes, lack the structure of some classes. And some people need that structure. Without that structure, some people aren't able to curate their own education enough, to care enough to do the work when there's not somebody looking over their shoulder and wagging their finger. How can you tell if you are a loser? Why are you concerned with whether or not you're a loser? Like, I'm not sure, like, I'm not even sure what you think a loser is, So it's like, it seems like maybe you should just focus on specific problems that you have and not whether or not you're some fucking subjective label that's going to change from person to person. Compare yourself to Brett Keane. Things we have in common. We're both fatties. We both live a sedentary lifestyle for the most part. We both like mac and cheese. We both like beer. We both like arguing with people. What else do we share? What am I missing? Yeah, we both have facial hair, I guess. In 10 years, you will be making keen grunts. Cool. Yeah, 10 years I'll still be doing these. I'll be toothless and like, hey guys, want it do situation. How's it going? You both have smelly dicks. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's probably. Where's Brett Keane? Get him on. I mean, he's probably in here. You're probably him because you actually asked for Brett Keane in a positive way. You're probably here trying to get people to go, yeah, we want Brett. We want Brett. But you're probably Brett yourself. We want Brett. We want Brett. Remember that creepy intro he used for a while? Bunch of little school children. We want Brett. We want Brett. Weird ominous music over it. It's like, what are you advertising with this intro? Like, what are you letting us know we're about to see? I'm telling you, that's why Brett Keane is such a treasure, because he's one of those people that even defies, like, fictionalizing. You're right. You're absolutely right. You could not write somebody that was a worse person than Brett Keane. They wouldn't be believable. Has Brett Keane wangled? That's a good question. I don't know. We'll have to tackle that one some other time, I guess. What's the earliest you ever had to get up for work? When I worked for Starbucks for a significant portion of the time that I worked for the company, which was a while, I was an opener. So I used to get up for work at 3:30 in the morning so I could be on the road by 4, so I could be at the store by 4:30, open the door, let my opener in, get everything ready to open at 5 a.m. So that's a pretty early call time for a fucking job. I guess that what is so interesting about Brett, he always lies and makes bullshit up at every minute. Well, that's one of the things, sure. Any advice for someone with an awful sleep schedule and is sleeping at 8 a.m.? I mean, I don't know. I mean, why is that a problem? Some people are more productive at night. Some people are more active at night. This is just absolutely incontrovertible truth, so it's maybe you're one of those people. What was your favorite high school job? I worked for Blockbuster late in high school, and that was a pretty kickback job, I'm not gonna lie. Blockbuster was pretty much the most chill job I've ever had. What's a question you keep asking yourself? Also, thanks for the stream, brother. It's a question that I keep asking myself. Honestly, probably like what the fuck am I gonna do? That's probably the question I ask myself more than any other question. What the fuck am I gonna do? Sometimes it's about various different things, you know, various aspects of my future or problems that I have in the present. What the fuck am I gonna do? Come on. Come on, Gord. Do you believe in free will? No. I do not believe in free will. I believe what I know to be true, that people are products of their environment. Products of their environment can't have free will, because then they wouldn't be products of their environment. Then they would have the ability to not be products of their environment. So, everybody's making choices from a subset of choices that are presented to them because they were raised in a very particular and unique environment. No free will means Gord exists and wants to chop off the tip of your penis. No, free will can't coexist with God. Like, there's just absolutely no way. Ashley was a DP fan. That Paul's friend introduced him to a guy who asked. Oh, yeah. I guess I might have missed somebody asking that, but yeah. I had a friend who was also a fan of the show who had this other friend from a video game that they used to play together, and he just offhand mentioned the Drunken Peasants to her at one point during conversation and found out that she watched it. He introduced me to her, and we struck up a friendship that eventually blossomed into the beautiful, wonderful relationship that we have now. Also, where would you go? What will you do when you retire besides still doing Highdeology? I don't even know if I have a concept of retirement in my head, honestly. I don't even see how I would do it. I don't even really know why I would want to do it at this point. Eventually blossomed into, finish that sentence, chat. If you watch this video from a different angle, Paul looks like a dragon. Cool. Do you like comic books? Not really. Not anymore. What could possibly end Highdeology behind your death? Maybe that army of 10,000 new channel censors that YouTube has pledged to hire comes across Highdeology and goes, "Hey, this guy says too many bad words." That could be the fate of a lot of people that you like on YouTube in the near future. See that? That's not pee. It's squirt. That's my squirt. Mm-hmm. Squirt puss. All right, well, thank you guys for hanging out. I'll catch you guys all next time.